Hey my friends, this is Paul. Before I get too deep into the video, I want to apologize for the lower quality of the overall audio presentation. I'm recording with my old headset, which I cannot stand because it emphasizes a lot of sounds that I would rather muffle. And I'm also filming this in my car, so it doesn't have all the soundproofing things, and I live on a highway, so you'll probably hear cars going back and forth. I know how to do noise suppression now, but I don't know if it'll be perfect. But the reason why I decided to record in such a low quality atmosphere and with low quality equipment when I could have just waited until tomorrow is that what I'm about to talk about is something that's been causing me severe physical and mental trauma, for lack of a better word. I guess it wouldn't technically be considered trauma, but like right now, as I'm thinking about it, I have a terrible stomach ache. And no, I'm not getting sick. I very much know that it's an anxiety-induced stomach ache. And this has been bothering me for the past 2 years, going on 3 on and off, and it just seems like it's kept on getting worse. And so, I finally decided I was going to take action. As someone told me on the mission trip I went on in 2018, you can't serve others if you can't serve yourself first. So, in order for me to be the world's longest running YouTuber, I'm going to keep making good videos for you guys and hopefully turning your lives over to Jesus, I gotta think about my own mental health. And that's why I'm making this video, because I had originally promised you guys that after I hit 7,000 subscribers, I would take down the most popular video on my channel. I'm not going to say the name of it, because even just saying the name of it gives me great anxiety. But I'm thinking I'm going to take it down early. And by the time this video comes out, I will be taking it down within seconds of this being uploaded. So, by the time you guys hear this, the video's gone. And I don't think I will ever bring it back. If I do bring it back, I'll have to have a very, very, very good reason for it, and my friends are typically not good at giving good reasons for why I should do or not do something on YouTube. And I feel like I owe it to you guys to give a little bit of backstory about myself, because even my most empathetic friends are completely baffled by how I'm feeling right now. One of my friends is a very, at least I think he is, he's an INFJ, and they're typically known for like taking on other people's feelings as though they're their own. And even he is saying, Paul, don't you get it? You're so popular. People love you. But here's the thing. I've never been a huge fan of being popular. I know that sounds weird, coming from the perspective of someone who's been on YouTube for 13 years. Going on exactly 13 this January. But when I was in school, I was the most popular kid in the school. And to an extent, it was alright, but I didn't really like having so much attention being on me all the time. And I didn't like the fact that people would like overly praise me, but then the other kids wouldn't get any praise. And I'd be like, you gotta give credit where credit is due. Like, I know I have all these achievements, but you can't just ignore the other kids. When it would be my birthday as a kid, I would always hate sitting at the end of the table because it made it feel like all eyes were on me. And I was like, I want everyone to get equal attention. I don't like being the center of attention. It's scary and it's overwhelming. And I thought I had gotten over that because I've gotten to the point where I'm a bit more okay with like being wild and expressive in group settings, and I think I've gotten better at group settings in general. Don't get me wrong, I'm still a one-on-one guy, way more than a group person any day, but at the same time, I had thought, okay, that part of my life is past me. I think I'm more okay with having attention on me and people giving me good words and all that, but no, apparently not. It sort of came back with a vengeance on my first 2 mission trips. Now, back then, I wasn't a chaperone, and as a result, I tried to keep in touch with a lot of the people that I met on those trips. And unfortunately, of that first trip, there are only 2 people that I still regularly talk to. And what makes that kind of unfortunate is that I was in a really bad headspace back then. I was borderline suicidal. I don't know if the doctors would technically consider it, but I was ready to just give up on society and people, and I was asexual back then, so I didn't really like girls. I was sexist as heck. So I'm very glad that I've gotten past that stage. And I prayed to God. This was about, I'd like to say, 6:15 in the evening on a Tuesday. And I just prayed that I would never have to talk to a girl again. And two girls, 45 minutes later, came and sat by me, and they were so cheerful and so supportive that it made me change my mind. And it made me say, okay, God, you certainly have a sense of humor, because you're not giving me what I'm asking for, but giving me something better. But then, as the camp progressed, either that or my memory is just really bad, but I remember it just seemed like progressively I got more and more popular to an absolutely insane degree. And I wish I was exaggerating, but next thing I knew, I walked out of the cafeteria and I was walking down the stairs back to go outside to go back to the main building. And there were two girls on the stairs that both smiled at me, and one said, "Paul, it's my turn to share to the audience how I saw God in everyone, and I'm going to say that I saw God in you." And I'm like, oh, that's very nice. And I'm thinking like, okay, not bad, not bad. 4 in the span of like 2 hours that are not treating me like trash. That's nice. But then it just kept escalating. It got to the point where there would be these swarms of girls that would be like surrounding me, and they'd all be wanting a hug and saying, "Oh my gosh, Paul, you're the greatest person ever." And there was a part of me that was like, oh, you know what? If it's bringing them closer to Jesus, then that's great. But it started getting pretty darn excessive. I'm pretty sure if this wasn't a Catholic camp, there might have actually been some violation of sleeping boundaries, because at one point after Wednesday evening, which was what I called the night I got it right, which was one of the only nights of my entire life where just every single person liked me and was happy with what I said. And after we all finished with our group activity and reconciliation, I went back to the dorm, utterly exhausted, but very, very happy. And this one guy from another youth group knocked on our dorm door, and he said, "I just wanted to see if this is the dorm of the famous Paul, because literally every single girl in my youth group is talking about you, and they can't shut up about you." And again, I had very, very mixed feelings about that, because on one hand, again, I was like, okay, well, they probably are liking the fact that I'm such a mess everywhere else, but I really love Jesus, and I wanted to talk about him more. But then the other guys in my group were starting to get jealous, and they were saying things like, "Oh, Paul, you're such a chick magnet." And I was like, I'm asexual. I don't want anything to do with these girls sexually. I just want to bring people closer to Jesus. Please do not lump me in with those other guys. And then the following mission trip, it wasn't quite as crazy, but I did still occasionally have swarms of girls that surrounded me. And there were a lot of letters that were sent, like, not letters in the mailbox, but like affirmation notes. Every single person on that mission trip, both adult and teenager, was given an envelope. And my envelope had by far the most letters out of anyone in my youth group, and everyone in the van was so jealous. Like, "Paul, why is everyone writing to you? You've just got an overflowing envelope." And most of them were girls, and saying like, "Oh my gosh, Paul, you're the coolest guy ever, and you've got so much wisdom." And to be fair, that year I had gotten over what was bothering me. I was like skipping down the halls and high-fiving people and telling everyone that Jesus loved them, so part of it was deserved. But again, there were those guys in the youth group that are like, "Paul, what is your secret to getting all the ladies in the camp to absolutely love you?" And I said, I really don't want them all to love me. I just want to bring closer to Jesus. And thankfully, I never quite reached that same status again on subsequent mission trips. And I think it's because I started to realize that I was an introvert, and I started to realize that I didn't like all the crowds, and I just kind of wanted things to be more on the quiet side. And thankfully, near the last couple of mission trips, it got to almost non-existent with the swarms and the fangirling and all that. I did have a couple of people who were like leaning over to listen to me talk about Jesus, but it didn't feel like it was a swarm or an obsession. It just felt like, oh, we're interested in hearing what he has to say. And by the end of the trip, there were 3 girls that surrounded me as I was walking out of the gym and asked me to come back to the camp. But it didn't have that same level of intensity as the previous camps did. It was like, to be fair, one of those girls had asked me to pray over her because she was afraid she was going to die during the camp because she had a really rare disease. And I had done such a good job of consoling her that she was like telling her friends, and then they came over and they wanted me to pray with them. And it was a really powerful moment. One of the only times in my life where I actually cried sympathetic tears for someone else because I was so moved by her story. Because normally I'm not that kind of guy. I don't really cry because of other people. It's more so I cry for myself more than anyone. But that particular time, she just absolutely broke me. And that was good enough. I feel like the more quiet, heartfelt kind of attention was more what I liked. Like, don't get me wrong, I had my fair share of friends, and I was popular at every job I had except when I worked at Walgreens. That was a disaster, but my coworkers seemed to like me a fair amount. One of the managers at my Culver's job offered to build a house over the top of the restaurant if it would mean that I didn't have to move to my current house. I was almost tempted to say yes, too. And, at the gym that I used to work at, and now I'm just a member, I'm pretty popular there. But again, it's not in swarms, and if I feel like they're giving me too much praise, I can usually redirect it to God, and then it's a bit more on the, it's a bit more manageable. But then around 2023, my channel took a huge spike in attention. But it wasn't my channel in general. It was one particular video that someone made a meme of, and that person has since apologized. So I don't want to put the blame on this person, especially because I highly doubt that he or she intended me to be anxious. It's more so what happened after the meme was posted that gets my gears. And that's that so many people flocked to my video that it became viral. And then there were more memes made about me, and a lot of the comments, even though they were positive, there were just so many of them, and they were like very, very, I guess, Gen Z, for lack of a better word. Like, I know that's an overused term, but it felt like the kind of words that they would use that confused the heck out of me at the time. Like, there were so many people just saying W or base, and I'd ask, what does that mean? And they wouldn't answer me. And I've always liked to say, good afternoon, my friends, this is Paul, because I would like to feel like I wanted a genuine connection with you guys. And like I said, two people from my comment section have met me in person. So the fact that I've been able to meet 2 people that originally knew me through YouTube is an honor. And neither of them treat me like a celebrity. We're just really good friends, and I like it that way. Obviously, they still compliment my channel, but it's not overdone. It's nice. But this video just got so much attention and so much, way too much praise. Like, people were saying it was the best video that was ever posted on YouTube, and that was embarrassing because I was like, oh, come on, guys. Scott the Woz, some of his worst videos are better than this. And they would say that this is peak cinema, 100% perfection, and I wish I was exaggerating. I really wish that I was just making this stuff up, but, you can... Well, you won't be able to after this video, but I could easily verify that by looking at the comments, which I won't do, because I want to keep my sanity. And I thought that maybe if I did a couple of community posts, made a pinned comment saying the comments are going to go on hold and I want you guys to say something intelligent and I want you guys to watch my other videos and give more glory to God than to me. Didn't work. It worked a little bit, but not as much as I was hoping. And as of the time of this recording, every single day I check my YouTube studio. Still, that video is the one that keeps getting the views, and it's by far the most popular. Like, I believe, as of the time of this recording, which again, you won't be able to see it by the time this goes out, it'll have 52,300 some odd views, give or take. I mean, the viewership grows all the time, so it's probably outdated already. And the second most popular video on my channel has approximately 11,000 views. That is a staggering difference. And here's the sad part. At first, when things were, you know, not too out of control, where like every now and then one of my friends would say, "Oh, hey, Paul, did you know that you were memed?" I'd be like, "I was?" And I'd be like, "Oh, okay, that's neat that someone made a meme about me." And the first couple of comments I was happy about. And people were like, "Oh, you should make more of these." So I said, "Okay, I will." And I made 5 other videos on my channel where I thanked God for something, with perhaps my favorite one being thanking God for my Switch 2 pre-order, because that was an absolute nightmare trying to pre-order my Switch 2. And admittedly, the video did well by my standards, but still nowhere near as well as the meme video, because it wasn't a meme. And it drives me crazy when I have sheep in my audience. And for those of you that don't know what I mean by that, real life sheep are really, really stupid. They know who their leader is, but they will follow that leader anywhere, even if it's off a cliff. And I feel like, and a lot of people have said as much in my comments, like, "Oh, hey, I only came here because of the meme," or, "Oh, I didn't even think you were real, but everyone else was talking about you, so..." And I'm like, "Oh, brother, think for yourself. Like, why do you have to bombard my comment section with absolute unintelligent gibberish?" And again, my friends have tried to convince me, like, "Oh, Paul, you're getting so much love for this video." But now that I've told you guys my backstory about how I felt about not liking to be an attention hog, and how, you know, I was the most popular kid at school, I was the most popular worker at the gym, I was the most popular worker at Culver's, I was the most popular person, period, at both of my first 2 mission trips, and I forgot to mention this in the mission trip section earlier, but there was one guy when we were doing our small group discussions, and this was before I was a chaperone too. Question came up because we were supposed to answer questions during our lunch break so that we could still talk about God even when we were eating. And the question came up of, like, how have you... Or no, that was the other girl. This one was... I asked everyone, "So, what are everyone's favorite parts of the camp?" Because I believe it was the last work day. And our resident, because we finished all the work, was letting us swim in the pool. And one guy said, "Paul, do you even have to ask? It's obviously you. You're the best part of this camp." So, having a lifetime of being just a very popular, very likable person, it can be overwhelming to not have an opportunity to practice the humility that Jesus wants from us as disciples. He does not want us to chase after fame and glory. He wants us to realize that we are sinners and we are fallen, and the only way that we can do anything good in life is because of the grace of God. And to be fair, I have tried. And, you know, sometimes it did get to my head a little bit, but I don't think it ever got to the point where I said that I would prefer being swarmed over just a quiet life. And don't get me wrong, I've expressed in this channel plenty of times that I've had the absolute opposite happen to me before. Like, when I first joined a youth group in high school, it was one of the most miserable experiences of my entire life, except for what happened to me in 2024. And in that youth group, there were people that liked me, don't get me wrong, but there were people that didn't like me so much that when I talked about it with my therapist just about a month ago, she said, "Paul, I think those people were bullying you because they were out to get you." And one of my friends who was in that youth group that didn't hate me was like, yeah, I absolutely agree, Paul. There was absolutely a vendetta against you in that youth group. So I've definitely had my fair share of abuse and people hating me and people bullying me, but I've also had the exact opposite. So it got to a point where it was pretty rare for a long time for me to be in a crowd that just thought I was okay. And that's why I've always turned down offers of stuff like sponsorships and voice acting, because I'm like, I just don't want the fame. I don't want to be a celebrity. Yes, I want to be the world's longest running YouTuber, but I don't want to be the most popular YouTuber, because I like to watch YouTube in my spare time, and I especially love reading the comments. I'm a TJ. Of course, TJ types in Myers-Briggs. They love hearing what everyone else thinks. And I would notice that on the channels that were really popular, like Scott the Woz and Game Theory, that they just would never respond to their comments because they couldn't. There was just so many. And a lot of them were either like missing the point of the video or giving like really terrible criticism, or even worse, which I've started noticing now, is a person will make this well thought out video with spectacular editing, and people, instead of complimenting the editing or the script or anything like that, they'll just verify their own opinions or say thank you for validating my own feelings. And it's like, what was even the point of listening to that video if you were just going to have the same opinion anyway? And so I realized that these people with higher sub counts and higher views and more likes, they couldn't have that personal connection with their audiences. And so, as a result, once I realized that, which I realized pretty early on, thankfully, I took steps to avoid ever getting to that point. YouTube has tried to give me advice on how to make my videos more popular, and I've turned down just about all of them. To me, what I consider to be like a successful video is probably about 400 views. I think is pretty reasonable. Maybe like the threshold of where I'm like, okay, any more than this and it's getting excessive would probably be like 1,100, where I'm like, okay, 1,100 is probably like the maximum of me being like, okay, this is good enough for realizing that people enjoyed the video, but they're also willing to have a discussion and maybe even be my friend in the comments section. And I guess I could have probably said that ahead of time, is I wanted friendships. I wanted connections with all these people that were swarming around me, and I wish I was exaggerating, but my brother will never let me forget it. Even when I wasn't a chaperone, only 2 people from that trip still kept in touch with me. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's now dropped to only 1. And like, she doesn't treat me like a celebrity or anything like that. She gives the glory to God for all that has been done on that trip, which I appreciate. But like, all these other people, they would change my lives, and I'd be like, oh, we should keep in touch, and then they would end up just going back to their normal lives or posting inappropriate pictures, and I'm like, whatever happened to the part of this trip being Catholic? I thought this was supposed to be a life-changing experience where you really got to know Jesus and your life was radically transformed. And I just felt like by the end of those trips, I was really the only one that actually felt like I was closer to Jesus after that trip, when I was the one trying to get other people to get closer to Jesus. And maybe I did. There were notes that would say at the time, like, Paul, you changed my life, and then those people would proceed to block me and never talk to me again. But the point still stands, is that generally speaking, when you're popular, you don't attract a friendship. You don't attract connections. You just attract fanboys and fangirls. Like, I'm sure most celebrities at like Comic-Con and anime conventions don't get to personally know the people that come to their booth. They just like sign an autograph, and the fans will just like do all the usual, like, oh, I'm in the presence of a celebrity, ah, like the usual nervous stuff. It almost like devalues the celebrity as a person, and that's why I tried really hard. I knew I couldn't keep in touch with any of them, but I tried really hard to like try to ask a question that I didn't think anyone else had ever asked the celebrities when I met them at Comic-Con. I think my two favorite celebrities in terms of feeling about as close as we could get to having an authentic connection was Zach Aguilar and Todd Habercorn. I just got the impression like, dang, these guys are so casual and so chill, you wouldn't believe they were celebrities if they didn't have a giant poster behind them advertising all their works. And it just felt like I was talking to two really cool dudes that I would have loved to hang out with in my spare time. And that is not the impression that I got from this video. I got the impression that people just wanted to leave a quick little W or based or ask if I was a woman, even though they can clearly see my skeletal structure and my Adam's apple and all that. And, it drives me crazy that people don't know their basic anatomy. But, I just didn't feel like it was worth it to have the swarms, for lack of a better word. I wanted the connection. I wanted to be able to feel like I could meet these people and be friends with them and hang out, and I just did not get that impression. And that's what I hated the most about all the times that I was popular, was I wanted to have those deeper connections, but my bosses would always say, like, now wait a minute, Paul, you can't be talking to them too much. You gotta be able to do the work as well. Not to say that I was lazy, but I also wanted to make sure that the people that I was serving were, being given good customer service. And that's why I'm happy that I'm no longer working at that gym, because now I can take my time and I can talk to the customers as a fellow customer. And one guy, he was so happy that he wasn't happy that I was laid off. He was happy that I had time. That he said, Paul, can we go in the lounge and talk? And I said, sure. And we talked for an entire hour. And I felt like this is what I was hoping for. And I got none of that from that video on my YouTube channel. I've gotten that from other videos, but it would usually only be one or two people, and then that would be it. And I want to go back to being my old, quiet, shy self that would rather just spend all day in his room than being swarmed by popular people. I would rather go back to maybe 1,000 or 700 subscribers and just have a handful of small but passionate fans, maybe averaging 5 likes per video. I'm cool with all that. I don't need all these subscribers. Honestly, ever since I passed 1,000, I felt like they weren't deserved. And there's a part of me that misses those days when, if I would get a comment on my video, or I did get someone saying they liked it, I would be so honored because I would hardly get any comments. And even to this day, I'll get more comments than I used to, but nowhere near as much as that most popular video. And I'm just sick and tired of the favoritism. I'm sick and tired of even empathetic people not caring about or not noticing my feelings. I'm sick of being treated like I'm better than Jesus and I'm better than Scott the Woz. I'm just me. I'm an average guy. I have so-so production values whenever I make a video without Esabelle directly helping. If Esabelle ever quits this YouTube channel, we're probably going to go back to amateur hour. And I just want some authenticity. I want some connection. And I want to be humble. I want to bring people closer to Jesus, but then I want him to get the majority of the credit. And the credit that's given to me is articulated in such a way that it feels like something my friend would say. I remember when I was showing my friends Matt and Danielle my video for the best games of 2024. And when the video was over, they gave me a round of applause. And they kept talking about what they liked. They went in detail. They're like, oh, during that section, I loved how you did a side-by-side comparison. Oh, I love the skits. Oh, I love the costumes. I don't get any of that on that video. That's the kind of stuff that I want. If you guys really are going to be my friends, I wish more people were like Danielle and Matt. So I finally told myself, okay, you know what? I am just not going to be a people pleaser. And I'm not. I'm not a people pleaser at all. I have tried to accommodate my audience's requests, but at the same time, I also know when to put my foot down and be like, no, that's not authentic to who I am. But I decided I'm going to be even less like that. And when I go into my best games and my best memories video, I'm going to pretend that Danielle and Matt are the only two people watching those videos. And I'm going to think, what's going to make them give me a round of applause? And if anyone else likes them, it'll be an added bonus. Or at the very least, that's what I hope to do with every video going forward, is expecting that every single like, even if I only get like 4 of them, is a round of applause from Danielle and Matt. And that maybe they don't want to leave a comment because they just have so much good stuff to say they can't articulate it. I went on and on way too long, but I was just so riled up, and talking about this has actually really, really helped. Honestly, you guys have no idea how much being able to vent this to actual people is just really gonna... Oh, it's relieving so much of my anxiety, just knowing that in a couple of days, it's all gonna be over. I won't have to repeat the mission trip again. Don't get me wrong, it was still one of the greatest experiences of my life, and that hug I got at Four Corners was insane. Like, I loved the love and acceptance, but the swarming and the fangirling, that was where I said, okay, I'll draw the line there. So hopefully, that'll be the case going forward. So again, to reiterate, there are other Thanking God for It videos. You can watch those. I'm going to be talking about God in other videos too. And, you know, there are other Catholic videos out there. Like, I think my most recent Catholic review that I was really proud of is Life is Strange 2 is the most Catholic game I've ever played. Why doesn't that one get me? You'd think that would be like... Who else? Can you think of anyone else on the internet who has said Life is Strange 2 is the most Catholic game ever? I bet you can't. And if you can, let me know. I'm genuinely curious. But I'm the type of guy that I like uniqueness, and I like coming up with things that no one else has ever heard of. And an unboxing video, dime a dozen, there are plenty of unboxing videos. And even the whole thanking God for it wasn't even my idea, it was my friend Dan's, and no one thanked him for it. I didn't see a single comment saying, thank you, Dan, for giving Paul the suggestion. I didn't see a single person go to Dan's channel and flood his comments and thank him. No, it was me because I was the YouTuber. And so, going forward, the next time I talk to Dan, I'm going to tell him, guess what? Your idea went viral. And you get all the credit, because you were the one that had the new idea. I was the one who was stupid enough to follow a trend. So with that, I think I'm done. This has gone on for way too long, but again, it was very therapeutic. And for those of you that sat through this whole thing and actually listened to what I was saying, thank you so much. It means more to me than you will ever realize. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye!